Alright, let's get started on part 2. Can't wait to get this one out in a timely manner for once. Maybe I can have it done by September or October if I put my mind to it. College can't be that crazy. Hello again, and welcome back to the series where I bang my head against a wall for a half an hour. I'm getting to the point where I don't feel it anymore. I'm telling you. Wall maxing? It's the new meta. I'm not crazy, I'm just ahead of the curve. So we left off on episode 5, where we learned to our collective surprise that Adam Taurus is a retard. I hope he gets better soon. We start episode 6 following Crow, who's searching around Mistral or Haven or wherever they are for huntsmen to recruit. He gets threatened by a restaurant owner and all the while isn't really acting like Crow should. You had the right idea with him trying to avoid unnecessary confrontation since he's not hammered yet, so that's not something you would do. But did you really have to write him acting like a Quirk Chungus Marvel character throughout this whole thing? Maybe I expect too much of you. He continues his search, but no one he asks seems to know where any of them are. Like, no one knows. This is a lot of people he's looking for. Whole pages worth of them. Has no one noticed yet? I think that if this many people were just gone without a trace, some of the others that, you know, live with or near them would go looking or get the authorities involved. But I guess Crow's just like the first guy to find out about this? How? He visits the house of one Heather Shields, finding that even her family doesn't know where she is. So ultimately, all of Crow's colleagues are just gone, without a trace. We get another scene with the restaurant owner where suddenly Crow is acting a little more like Crow. Do the writers need to be drunk to write him properly? Also, I've always found it a little funny that this show's form of cash is little slabs of plastic, like you're trying to go band for band with a guy and your money spread's all Visa gift cards. The restaurant, bar, whatever it is, has a no faunus sign outside. I respect it, I really do, that we're at least trying now to justify the faunus thing we've tried to contrive over the past couple seasons. Really, kudos for the effort. But is Anima really the place, you know, where you previously showed Faunus just hanging out, doing business and shit in peace? Is this the hill to die on? Hard cut to Raven, Yang, and Weiss all sitting in a room together, which means inherently that given a choice between listening to this scene and getting waterboarded, I'd probably choose the waterboarding. If you recall, Raven brought them in here in order to tell them, big air quotes, the truth. And of course, that means in typical Raven Bronwyn fashion that she's going to be vague and condescending and gay at them for no reason instead of just getting the fucking message across. It's Raven. This behavior is expected. So what is the truth, anyway? What's so important that Raven needed to tell them? Well, let's break this down. First, she informs them of the grim and shocking reality that not all people are good people, and that includes huntsmen. Real groundbreaking stuff, I know. Then she actually does provide something actually new, telling them all about how she and Crow originally went to Beacon to learn how to kill huntsmen instead of becoming huntsmen, before catching Ozpin's eye and being recruited as his personal spies. She also compares her old team to Team RWBY to try and drive home the point that maybe they're not so different. I really don't know why Raven knows everything she knows about our main four. If we're supposed to believe all she cares about is her tribe and literally nothing else ever in the universe ever, which will be shown later on in episodes to come, then why would she care to learn all this shit she apparently knows about them? And more than that, if she really does only care about her tribe, then what was up with her randomly showing up for 5 seconds in Mountain Glen to spook Neo? Simply a late RWBY moment, I suppose. But this next one's a kicker, get this. Ozpin has a great and terrible secret, one that according to Raven would cause fear to spread across the world were it to be revealed to the public. And here it is. The Grimm are controlled by Salem, and she's bent on destroying humanity and can't be stopped. What does that have to do with Ozpin? How does that morally implicate him? You can't just make Yang and Weiss react with fear or disgust or whatever that is they're doing and make me believe you. It's not that easy, show. What exactly about Salem existing and being a big bad reflects negatively on the guy actively opposing her? Do you think I'm stupid and can't think about this before you move on? Well, maybe I'm just not part of the target demographic. Raven makes an unnecessary dig at Taeyang, Yang gets pissed, Raven leaves, terrible voice acting throughout, and come to think of it, terrible script writing as well, but what else is new? And they find out that Raven can turn into a bird, ask her how, and she gives them a choice between staying with her and having her explain everything or going to ask Crow instead, so they leave. Which, I mean, yeah, I don't really know what you expected out of that. You've done nothing but be an annoying, condescending prick to both of them this entire time. No wonder they're eager to get very far away from you. So it's reunion time. Yang and Weiss join back up with the IQ deficiency, whatever the fuck I said, and we get a nice couple moments where they reunite with RWBY. I am a noticer. I've noticed a trend. Unlike Volume 4, where all of it was downtime and all of it was bad, in this season the downtime is actually where we get some little nice things with the characters, and the plot-relevant events are when we have to deal with the endless torrents of stupid. In short, the good is a little bit better and the bad is way worse. I just wish that in order to get to these nice little character moments, we didn't have to wade through so much stupid nonsense. So most of the gang is back together to start episode 7, gathered around a table to eat some healthy, delicious tonkotsu ramen.
Ah, totemo ii desu. Super sugoi and very Japanese. Chef-sama, my personal Nihongo sensei, would be very proud.
The group reminisces upon the events of the previous sludge pile. again. And once again, we're going to be pretending like everything that happened over the course of Volume 4 was totally in character for everyone and made total sense, literally completely the whole way through. Yes. The funniest part of all of it is when Yang asks John how he managed to lose his map at a time like that, and he responds by saying he's been asking himself that ever since. But you didn't lose it. You dropped it on the ground for no reason and never went back for it. Like, I guess I can get dropping it, sense of urgency, yada yada whatever. But it seems to me like a pretty good idea to then backtrack for a very worthwhile 15 seconds to go get the thing you need to know where you are. At that point, it's not even an honest mistake, you're just retarded. We continue to just lie about what happened at the end of last season, pretending like Ruby shooting the big chungus or John poking at it with his sword actually did anything, or like Ren actually did anything impressive besides cutting his head off with the kitchen knife. Or wait a second, why are we pretending Ren can't understand the nuances of English? Are you guys banking on me not having seen anything that came before this? You know, actually that might explain some things. They get done with dinner, and we get more continued banter. You know, I'd appreciate the banter a lot more, along with all these character moments, if we hadn't spent the entirety of last season and the majority of this one so far axe murdering every single character in the cast, maybe bar Crow, and replacing them all with skinwalkers. Once dinner's over, it's time to have a serious conversation with Crow and Orange Boy, who is currently Ozpin. We fast forward through the whole spiel about maidens and magic and everything because in a rare show of sense, the show has decided we don't need to hear it again. On top of being a school headmaster, Ozpin's evidently a magical god type. Close enough. Welcome back, Shinigami-sama. He used his magical god powers to give Raven and Crow the ability to turn into birds to help with their spying endeavors. And for some reason that escapes me, this comes across as shocking and appalling to the gang. They're seriously put off by it, especially Yang. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying any of this, actually. I'm not buying that the gang is put into shock by this, given everything they've seen and heard over the past season, especially the Ranger part of this group. Sure, it's not exactly normal to them, but at this point it shouldn't be a complete kick in the head. I'm also not buying the gang's collective repulsion. Perhaps I'm willing to accept that this falls a little into the morally gray, but it's not like he turned them into the Miku creature from bacterial contamination or Locutus or something. He just gave them the ability to totally optionally, easily, and painlessly turn into birds. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Plus, like always, I'm confused on the timeline. I've probably already said something like this 5 times before, but we know the whole Maiden's OG season happened long ago enough for it to have passed out of public consciousness and into the realm of legend, as ridiculous as that kind of is. So what's been up for the past, forever? Have you and Salem just been having a thousands of years long staring contest for all that time? Why'd you wait till 20 years ago maximum to start recruiting scouts? You've been at this for how long? And don't act like I don't see what you're trying to do, show. You've been trying to speedrun making Ozpin a morally gray character that the main characters should be unsure whether they can trust, even though you're about to completely tear all that down in 5 seconds, but stay with me. The problem with that is, he hasn't done much to make me as the viewer distrust him. Last episode, you tried to call into question his morality for the dubious act of fighting the antagonist, and now you're jarring the fuck out of me again by making the characters react completely unnaturally to news that isn't really that bad in the grand scheme of things. But guess what? It doesn't matter, because we're about to throw all of that out anyway. Ozpin explains that the whole bird thing was totally elective, and that Crow and Raven were totally fine with it. It was only after the fact that Raven fucked off to the forest to go do whatever because she was mad. Oh, also, he was the one who gave the maidens their powers. And after this quick explanation, everyone's back on board. The only condition, according to Yang, is transparency. No more lies. See, rookie mistake. If you wanted to figure out government secrets, I could link you to some War Thunder forums. Crow and Ozpin agree, and everyone's cool again. They resolve to hang out for the night, and Nora B's again not funny. Cut to good old Shady Man from earlier on in the season. He's approached by a group of 4 characters that at this point I wish I didn't recognize, and he's scared shitless, and the episode ends. How does he know who these people are? Is he not just a chump? Like, I didn't think Raven would be so casual in explaining who Cinder Fall is and why she's dangerous, but this is RWBY and this is Raven. You know, I'd be a little more upset that the show was making such a blatant attempt at emotional manipulation with the whole Ozpin thing, but it's so bad at actually manipulating that I really can't be. It's like the Eat That Pussy 445 of writing if you replace trying to have sex with children with writing a shit script. We open episode 8 with RWBY and Yang hanging out outside in the early morning. Both of them are tired yet unable to get back to sleep. Out comes Weiss with coffee for the 3 of them. See, there's nothing wrong with this scene on its face, but hear me out for a minute. Usually in these videos, my issues are with the actual plot and the characters, and believe me, I have a nigh endless supply of those. But this scene right here is possibly the best example of something that's been plaguing this season so far, and I haven't really explained in detail in this format yet. I think I've mentioned it in passing a few times, but this is going to be my big section on it so I can stop talking about it. The presentation in Volume 5, speaking strictly now about everything other than the actual plot and characters. is dog shit all around, everywhere. The animations are a slight improvement over last season, but the script is dreadful, the dialogue is unbearable, and the voice acting is somehow worse than both of those. These character moments we've been getting were fine for a while, since we almost never got them. But now that we've had almost 3 episodes of them, the rust is really starting to show. I get we're about to dive straight back into the piss cringe nonsense that is the story of this story, but even now it's becoming very apparent that the characters suck too. This scene here isn't even really that bad if you look at a summary of the things happening. All you had to do to make it not absolutely god-awful, horrible, nightmare terrible was have RWBY, Weiss, and Yang talk to each other like normal people and not AI trained on Tumblr screenshots and Minion memes from 2012. Fortunately, coffee exists is not a line I should be hearing in a serious piece of fiction that wants me to take it seriously. Anyway, Blake gets brought up, and Yang gets defensive and leaves. You know, we haven't really done much with the way Yang feels about Blake. Maybe we could get some good stuff out of this soon. Emphasis on maybe and good. Cut to Blake, who's brooding as she does. Sun calls for her and she says she'll be right there, but then she feels something taped to the back deck. Turns out it's a note from Elia saying that things are going too far for her and asking Blake to meet at a quiet spot. That's funny. Elia knew exactly where on the porch to put that. She must know a hell of a lot about Blake's brooding habits. Blake tells Sun she needs to take care of something before she goes recruiting, and we cut right back to Yang. Seems we might be getting that payoff a little sooner than I thought. Please, make it good. Please? No, it's bad. Even from the most surface of surface levels, the voice acting ruins the whole thing. It's so flat and inexpressive, especially on Yang's part, that it completely nukes any weight this scene might have had. It's very clear to me that the voice actors for this show weren't at all ready for anything approaching. No, that's not true. That's not true, because they did Volume 3. Volume 3 was awesome. How the hell do you do Volume 3 and then this? It doesn't make any sense. The ensuing conversation is the most blunt thing I've ever heard in my life. Zero subtlety, zero nuance, zero... well, expression, once again. It's what the script wants to be said through Weiss and Yang. They exposit parts of their backstories to each other and talk more about Blake, and ultimately not much is accomplished besides Weiss telling Yang that Blake will be back eventually. I'm not opposed to having Weiss and Yang talk about this, right? I'm not opposed to conversations between characters. I'd rather sit down and have a dialogue than not ever do that. Last season was a nightmare partly because there was almost no character at all. It was either mindless exposition or eye cancer fight scene. But it doesn't make it any better if you have them sit down to talk and forget that they're both characters. It doesn't help at all that the script is hot flaming shit cringe, but you could have at least made Weiss and Yang act and sound a little more like Weiss and Yang rather than, well, not Weiss and Yang. I was cool with getting a bit of character and introspection for once, but this is like asking for a screwdriver and being promptly stabbed repeatedly in the gut with it. I'm gonna move on from this before I get a migraine. Moving on from this before I get a migraine, we're back with Blake, who's arrived in a quiet spot where she meets Elia. You both decided independently on the same nondescript alleyway and you both happened to be correct. Really, show? Anyway, it turns out to obviously be a fake out. Elia has her White Fang buddies jump Blake and restrain her. Great play, guys. In this specific alley, between all these inhabited houses, the ones that currently have their lights on, fantastic location for an honor killing. You really take after your boss. Blake and Elia have a back and forth, and fucking hell, man, it's almost impressive how little this show's able to accomplish with so much dialogue. I was thinking, well, I was hoping anyway, that the show would use this opportunity to show me Elia having a little bit of inner conflict about this whole thing, since that seemed to be what it was building up, but instead we've just decided to make her another retarded ideologue who won't hear reason. Good on you, show. Elia and Batman leave the other two with Blake, but Blake calls in her tag team partner to help her effortlessly knock out both of the remaining grunts. Dude, there's no way Elia and Batman didn't hear any of this. They're like 30 feet away. They can't even have cleared the alleyway yet. But as always, RWBY lacks object permanence. The Blake household has turned into a CSGO match. The White Fang's grunts are absolute garbage shots, and the guards, policemen, whoever, are somehow worse than them, just like a CSGO match. How they, armed with submachine guns, are only able to land one solitary shot on the guard's shoulder is lost on me. But what's even crazier is that the guard dude, given ample time to line up a shot at damn near point-blank range with a pistol, doesn't fucking dome one or both of them instantly. Were all of you not trained for this? Blake's dad, meanwhile, is mowing through them when the guard helping him gets killed by the White Fang monk clowns. Looks like we're gonna have a fight scene. Episode over. We're lapsing hard back into the stupid, dude. It's trying to make sense of this show is like trying to hold a conversation with that fucking guy who keeps coming in here and making— Hello, YouTube, and my more dedicated fans on Rumble, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be following up on our discussion on the underlying thematic symbolism contained within the juicy orifices of New Super Mario Bros. 2. But first, we must take an in-depth look into the politics of A24's unpopular masterpiece, Morbius, and the subtly hidden meta-narrative implications of the Lord of Ring, Gollum. But before we do that, we must first look into the infamous literary work by inflamed writer Jummy Hayward,
Horton here's a who. To clarify, we are not today discussing the animated motion picture by Blue Sky Studios. The motion picture prognominally tarnished the inherent pronatalismic messaging within the events of the character arcs presented in the third act. High Guardian Spice is, in essence, everything I have ever wanted from a Marvel film. Morbius. High Guardian Spice is, for the first time, a High Guardian Spice Marvel fantasy film with actual stakes. It is truly High Guardian relieving Spice Marvel to have a good Marvel film after so many years of no Team Fortress updates. But Morbius, well, we have spoken enough about Pokemon now. I think I have reasonably proven my positional stance-based position on why you're wrong about modern art. As an aerobiologist myself, I believe I am sufficiently credible to speak on this matter. And in addition, I have been told by sources familiar with the event that the Thatsusi has been sabotaged. This is a proglominal travesty and must be investigated. But I have come today in this video to reveal to you something else. You may not know this, but New Super Mario Bros. 2 is hiding a sinister secret. In the words of the great English astronomer Taquavius Bingleton, stop being assholes to translators. This quote made me brown. Do you remember before AI?
What the fuck? Get out! Get out! I can never get anything done in here, dude. I'm gonna have to throw that guy off a mountain or something when I'm done with this. We start episode 9 following Raven. She's told by the lesbian haircut girl that 4 of the Funky Bunch members are inside the camp waiting to speak with her. She comes out to meet Medusa from Soul Eater, 2 character designs, and Watts. Immediately she says she knows all about Salem, but she hasn't met any of them before. Okay, wait, start over. So you didn't explain to the chumps who these people are, because you actually haven't met or seen them before in your life. So if Shady Man and the guards at the front gate weren't aware these people were Funky Bunch members, why'd they instantly shit their pants upon seeing them instead of doing their jobs and guarding the gate? What was it, just a feeling? For the sake of your and my mental stability, I'm gonna skip over most of the Marvel ass cringe dialogue and hope we both share on the understanding that 90% of the lines exchanged in this show accomplish nothing. Raven has the Spring Maiden, and Medusa from Soul Eater knows it. Raven brings lesbian haircut girl out and has her prove she is, in fact, the Spring Maiden by whipping up a thunderstorm from thin air. I mean, I didn't really call it, did I? There wasn't really a question to start with. There are 3 characters from Raven's tribe that we know that are actually characters, and the only one that isn't already overpowered or a drooling retard and also ineligible was lesbian haircut girl. Of course it was her. But Medusa from Soul Eater and the gang aren't just here to be condescending and gay, they're here to make a deal. Here's what it is. They take Raven and lesbian haircut girl to Haven Academy with them, unlock the relic, and in exchange they let the both of them leave and fuck off back to the forest unimpeded. Quick thing, Watts isn't bad. He's the only one here with a voice actor who sounds like he's trying, and his lines aren't that awful. Mocks the fuck out of Medusa from Soul Eater, or them. Raven decides to demand a bit more from the deal. She wants Crow dead. Her proposition is as follows. They have Lionheart invite Crow into an ambush and murk him easily. But there's a problem with that, as Watts explains. Originally, there would have been 0 resistance in their plan to get the relic, but a fight with Crow, and by extension most of Teams RWBY and Juniper, would be very loud and probably attract the attention of literally everyone. Medusa from Soul Eater promptly tells Watts to fuck off and makes the deal with Raven anyway. I hope that goes well for them. Back to the Blake household. Her dad's fighting the White Fang monk clowns with Sun. When Blake manages to distract them for more than long enough for either of them to easily knock out or kill both of them. But of course, since this show lacks object permanence, Blake's dad and son conveniently stand idle and do nothing while Blake does so. And once both of the monk clowns are frozen in Blake's ice clone, which I didn't know she could do, they all just stand around and talk. Knock them out! Their plot armor is useless if they're not conscious. Get this shit. They spend the entire time telling Blake to go find her mom, and they actually, no joke, fucking wait for the monk clown's weapons to get dislodged from the ice before fighting them again. Even though they had like an entire minute of time to just hit the both of them over the head with something heavy and be done with it. This isn't the time for honor codes, dude. This is a fucking home invasion. Are you retarded? We're back with Raven. Lesbian haircut girl comes into Raven's tent, stating the Funky Bunch members have a ship 2 clicks west and are staying there for the night. She asks Raven if she thinks they'll actually be let go, and Raven responds with a resounding, of course not. Raven then says that if they want any chance of defending themselves, they're going to need the Relic of Knowledge. But why? I really don't understand why you need these things, because I really don't know what they do. I know that if you get all of them, you can world edit or whatever, very Infinity War of you guys. But what exactly do they do on their own? How do you know how they work? Aren't you supposed to be a reclusive tribe? 5-second clip of Crow and Mango Boy, and we're back with Blake. She runs through her house, I guess trying to avoid the fighting, and eventually comes upon a big empty room with only Elia within it. Huh, lucky. But what the fuck is Elia doing here anyway? Presiding over an empty room waiting for her opponent to arrive? Was she a Mega Man boss? Oh, and that's it for episode 9 and this video. I'll see you in the next part where the wall maxing will for sure continue. And thanks for watching. Man, it is good to finally have this done. College really has been crazy, but I finally had some time to set aside for this over my winter break. I just hope editing this doesn't take forever. Post-editing me can laugh at pre-editing me later if it does. I just wanted to say again for the 5 millionth time that I really appreciate how many of you all stick around to see these videos, no matter how infrequent my uploads might be. It's really cool to see that there are people that still come back and watch the things I make, so thanks for that. When part 3 happens, I'm not sure. I've learned that announcing things that I'm going to do and giving time frames is always a bad idea because something always comes up to ruin it. The free run video is still in limbo. I have like part of the script written, but also part of the script not written. Obviously part 3 is in the future somewhere. It's gonna happen because I'm not gonna just leave it off at part 2. What I can tell you is going to happen concretely. I can't tell you when because I don't know, but it will happen. A new The Anime video will be happening soon, so stay tuned for that. And I guess thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.
The motion picture prognominally the motion picture prognominally tarnished. The motion picture prognominally That's not a word. The motion picture prognominally tarnished. Prognominally prologonym. The motion picture prognominally tarnished.